My name is Priscille LeBlanc. At the end of July, we had a major announcement of new financing at Air Canada. And some of you have been asking what this, as well as other recent achievements, mean for Air Canada and its employees. I'm here today with Calin Rovinescu, Air Canada's President and CEO, who will answer some of your questions. Calin, you have repeatedly told us that we needed to accomplish three things in order to manage through this recession: a solution to funding the pension deficit, labor stability, and new financing. Can you tell us where we stand on all three today?
Well, Priscilla, I'm happy to say that as of this moment, we've achieved all three, which is an important step in ensuring our survivability. This nearly $3 billion pension deficit had to be tackled first. And so after many meetings with government and a lengthy negotiating process with our unions, we came out with a pension solution which was confirmed through order in council. And this provided for a 21-month moratorium on past service payments, as well as 3 subsequent years of fixed payments. And that was a key step into assuring that we could get through that first phase. We then had to have labor stability, because without that, we wouldn't be able to ensure we had sufficient financing to go forward. And we negotiated 21-month extensions to the labor agreements with each of our 5 main unions in Canada. And finally, and this was the big announcement of last week, we completed with several sources a $1 billion financing package, which gives us sufficient breathing room to get to the next stage. This $1 billion came from several sources. The cornerstone of it was a $600 million credit, which came from GE and supported by ACE and Aeroplan, and involving the EDC, the Export Development Corporation. In addition, a major supplier provided cash to the corporation. We had a sale-leaseback included in that, and altogether this added up to $1 billion, and extremely significant to get us through this next phase. So what we've managed to achieve is provide a stable environment where customers can book with confidence, knowing that Air Canada will be there. Suppliers will continue to supply to the company with confidence, knowing that we'll be able to pay all our bills and everything is fine. And then, of course, we look at the longer-term picture, and we'll have to kind of get to the next phase, just as we did through this one, with the great support of our employees, our unions, our retirees who participated so significantly in this process, and our many other suppliers and partners.
So does this mean that we're out of the woods?
Well, Priscilla, I wouldn't say we're out of the woods just yet. This has been a big success. What we've achieved so far is a big success, no question, and it's taken a lot of effort to get there. But we needed to avoid CCAA as our major short-term priority, and that we've done. My view was that CCAA would have presented enormous risks right now. We have, this is a very, very difficult credit environment. We would have had difficulty raising financing inside CCAA. To go into bankruptcy protection with the backdrop of a recession like we have now would have made it very, very difficult and would have posed enormous risk.
So we get to save jobs this way? Well,
not only jobs, absolutely. My view is that you preserve many, many more jobs outside CCAA than inside CCAA, but at the same time we preserved pensions. There were no changes to the pension program. The deficit was not compromised. We also preserved shareholders' interests, because in a CCAA normally shareholders get completely wiped out. And of course, we managed to do that and have a chance at managing through this recession.
But there's still great losses foreseen for the industry for this year and even into next year.
Well, exactly. IATA forecasts losses that exceed $10 billion in the airline industry, and that means there will be some massive losses in company after company. And so, in order to be able to deal with that level of loss, I think every airline needs to look at its costs and its operations, and of course we are going to be looking at that very, very seriously to ensure long-term sustainable profitability.
This loss is for 2009 alone?
These losses are for 2009 alone, that they're projecting losses for the industry of over $10 billion.
We've achieved a lot in the past 3 months. What are the next steps?
Well, we're facing probably the worst yield environment and the worst revenue environment since the airline industry started keeping these statistics. In the U.S. alone, last quarter, U.S. carriers had announced revenue deterioration relative to the previous year of 22 to 26% in some cases. So this is worse than SARS, worse than 9/11, worse than any prior recession we've ever known. This is the worst revenue environment ever. So what we have a program that'll deal with both the cost and revenue side of the equation.
What are we going to do about costs?
We have to have an ability to get in there and reduce our costs while at the same time finding new revenue opportunities. On the cost side, what I'm planning on is an organization that is just being announced, a cost transformation organization that will work with each branch in the company to identify and execute on cost reduction initiatives. And this is throughout the entire company. We've recently announced, for example, that the Jazz arrangements, we've significantly reduced our costs under the Jazz capacity purchase agreement. And that was a very, very important negotiation.
And do we have a target?
Well, our target is $500 million, which is a lofty target for sure. Our objective is by 2011 to reduce our costs by $500 million. So we'll be scaling it up as the period unfolds. Some of that 500 will come through revenue improvements, but it's largely cost-driven, and so we expect that 500 to go right to the bottom line of the company.
Does that mean that we can expect massive layoffs?
No, not at all. Look, as I've said previously, I don't expect that we are able to shrink this company to profitability through massive layoffs. For sure, there may be some seasonal layoffs like Air Canada has done every year, and as we adjust capacity, there may well be some layoffs. But the lion's share of this $500 million reduction program, which is, as I said, largely cost-based, is non-labor driven.
And how do you go about raising new revenues in an environment like this?
Well, again, we have to be very creative on the revenue side. We have to do better in our partnerships with the travel agents. And we've already made great progress. We've increased commissions in some areas for some fare categories that previously didn't attract commissions. We've gone on to put our fares that previously were not in Expedia on online agencies like Expedia and others. We've looked for some new route opportunities, and we've had some success in marketing those. So we will find new revenue opportunities, and part of that is through creativity.
Thank you for this, Calin.
Thank you, Priscilla.
It's great to be ending this conversation on such an encouraging note. And thank you for joining us today. And remember, you may forward any additional questions to horizons@aircanada.ca.